It's the video everyone is talking about, the Virginia State Championship track meet. One relay runner hits her opponent over the head with the baton, sending her to the ground with a head injury. The online reaction has been intense as people around the country villainizing the runner who knocked her opponent down. Well, now she's speaking out, claiming it was an accident. What is the truth? And should she be charged criminally? Tonight, we take a closer look with our think tank. But first, it was a violent crime scene full of blood, a double murder in Beverly Hills. The victims, Jose and Kitty Menendez, shot on their couch while eating ice cream and watching a movie. It looked like a mob hit, but it wasn't. The murder was carried out by their two sons, Erik and Lyle. At first, the brothers were treated as victims, but when their therapist's ex-girlfriend came forward with information that the brothers had confessed during therapy sessions, everything changed. Eventually, the brothers were charged. At trial, they claimed to be the victims of sex abuse and violence. The first juries could not reach a unanimous verdict, and there was a mistrial. But when they were retried, they were convicted and sentenced to life without parole instead of the death penalty. But now there's a renewed movement to get the brothers out of prison and released back into society. And they have a big hearing coming up, their resentencing hearing, a motion originally brought by the former LADA. But now the new LADA is speaking out, and it was not a good day for the Menendez brothers. Tonight, do the Menendez brothers have any chance of being set free for their double murder convictions? I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Big developments, huge developments in a case I know everyone is interested in. Some of you have been following it literally for decades. Now, last fall I sat here and I was convinced, absolutely convinced, that the Menendez brothers it was just a matter of time before they were set free. And that's because of this man, George Gascon. He was the former LADA. He was the DA at the time. And he took the step of himself initiating a resentencing of the Menendez brothers. He says he was influenced by phone calls and the Netflix documentary, et cetera, and said that his staff and everyone had looked through the case and they determined that there should be a resentencing. And George Gascon is a DA who had a reputation for being kind of soft on crime, to say the least. Now, he was up for re-election. He lost, and there's a new DA in town. Nathan Hochman is his name. He's been on this program. He has spoken about this case and has talked about the procedures and everything that has to take place. But little by little, his viewpoint on all of this is starting to come out. And he had another press conference today where he let that opinion be known. And it's much different than his predecessor. The only way I could describe it after today's press conference is that it's a really bad day for the Menendez brothers. Because it's pretty clear to me that the DA in LA does not want these two released, will not put his stamp of approval on it. George Gascon was going to go into court and said, yeah, judge, please resentence them, let them go. They've done enough already. Let them out on parole. Give it to the parole board. Let them out, because we have no problem, Your Honor. And that would give the judge, in that case, it's like a green light. The judge says, well, the prosecution is asking for it. Obviously, the defense agrees, so all right, you are now eligible for parole, Menendez brothers. That's the way it would have happened with Gascon. But with the new LADA, all of a sudden, now the DA is saying, no, we don't think they should be eligible for parole. Now, all of a sudden, the judge doesn't have that sort of easy way out, so to speak. A judge can still make any decision a judge wants to make. But the judge would have to override what the prosecution is saying or what the prosecution believes is right in this case. So it would be the judge taking a chance and going out on a limb. And that, a lot of that depends upon who the judge is, what their reputation is, and how the hearing goes, because this hearing is coming up. But my guess is that a judge won't necessarily want to go out on the limb for the Menendez brothers. Like, why would you go out on the limb for them? Two rich kids from Beverly Hills. Right? I mean, there's a lot of people in prison who probably have stories that are a lot more tragic and a lot more sad for how they got involved in whatever crime they got involved with. This one, right, you believe him? Yeah, it's sad, it's tragic and all that. But at the end of the day, there's still two kids from Beverly Hills. Lived a really great life up until the time that they murdered their parents. Now, you can argue about the sexual abuse, whether it was one or both or neither of them. I think it's still up for debate. Now, where does that leave the Menendez brothers if the judge doesn't say, yeah, he should be resentenced? Well, then the only hope is Gavin Newsom. He's the governor of California, but he's really been a candidate for president. He's been running for about 25 years now. That's been the big plan, was to get to the White House. And it looks like he will likely run next time around. So what kind of decision would that be for him? Would that help him or hurt him politically? You know, you got to see which way the winds are blowing. Are we letting rich white kids from Beverly Hills out while other people are locked up? Will that help him win a primary? Will letting go a murderer help him win the general election? I don't know. You tell me. Anyhow, let's bring it back to Nathan Hochman, the LADA. Big press conference today. I want you to hear what he had to say.
The position we are taking today is that we will go forward. We are prepared to go forward with the court's initiated resentencing proceedings and look forward to a resentencing hearing on that motion. However, we are asking the court to withdraw the previous district attorney's motion for resentencing because we believe there are legitimate reasons and the interest of justice justifies that withdrawal. Now, when one deals with resentencing, one of the key hallmarks of resentencing is, do the defendants pose an unreasonable risk of danger to the community? One way to decide if they pose that risk is to understand if they have been rehabilitated. And one way to understand if they've been rehabilitated is, have they accepted and exhibited full insight into the crimes that they have committed and accepted complete responsibility for their criminal actions. As we lay out in our pleading, which is now 87 pages long, we go through a 60-page statement of facts, which is different, by the way, than the 3 pages that the prior motion had laid out as far as the crimes that are involved. And as we show, the essence of the defense that the Menendezes have maintained from the first trial into the second trial to the present day is that they acted in self-defense. They had an actual fear of imminent harm, in essence, that their parents were going to kill them the night of August 20th, 1989. As we show extensively, and just to make this point, that this case is not, or their defense was not about sexual abuse, because I know that issue has come up many times, but about self-defense. I take you to both Erik, Lyle's, and their own attorneys' statements. At trial, Erik testified, and he was asked, did you kill your father because he sexually molested you? Answer, no. Did you kill your parents because you hated them? Certainly no, was the answer. Did you kill your parents because you wanted their money? Answer, no. Did you kill your parents as an act of mercy? Answer, no. Why, Mr. Menendez, did you kill your mother and your father? Because we were afraid. What is it you were afraid of? I was afraid of dying. Who were you afraid was going to kill you? My mom and my dad. Lyle Menendez similarly testified as well. That it was asked the question, on August 20th, 1989, did you or your brother kill your mother and father? Yes. Did you kill them for money? No. Did you kill them because you wanted to pay them back for the way they had treated you? No. Why did you kill your parents? Because we were afraid. That is the essence of their defense at trial. It was not sexual abuse. The jury was never asked to render a verdict on sexual abuse. It was all about self-defense. In looking at, then, whether or not the Menendezes have exhibited the full insight and complete responsibility for their crimes, they have not. Because, and we outline this in 20 different lies that they have told, which is an attachment to our submission. They have told 20 different lies. They've actually admitted to 4 of them, but 16 lies remain unacknowledged. They persist in these lies to this very day. So like with Sirhan not being able to exhibit full insight into his actions, so too the Menendez brothers failed to exhibit full insight into their actions. Let me give you 4 examples where they've actually admitted to the lie. Erik and Lyle lied on the 911 call about just discovering their parents' bodies. Again, when they were found out and the tapes came in, they admitted to that lie, and I mean the lie of the 911 call. The second lie that they've admitted to is that they lied to the police, family, and friends and the media about their involvement in the murders. Again, when their confession came out on tape, they had to admit to that in the first and the second trial. They admitted that they lied to the police, family, and friends, suggesting the mafia was involved in the murders. And Erik admitted that he lied when he told his expert psychiatrist, Dr. Vickery, that his parents would kill him because his father's homosexual lover warned him that he was in danger 2 days before the murders. This is something that Erik Menendez told Dr. Vickery, and then months and months later finally recanted and told Dr. Vickery that that was a lie. But there are 16 lies that remain to this day that have been affirmed as recently as last year, where they affirmed the self-defense and they've never admitted to the suborning of perjury of others or the attempted suborning perjury. These lies include when Erik and Lyle claimed that their parents were going to kill them, that they had to act in self-defense by murdering them first. That the Brian S. Lamina letter, that they basically tried to suborn perjury from Brian S. Lamina, telling him to testify that they borrowed one of his handguns the night before the murder. Another lie that they told to support their self-defense story is that on that Friday, when they go down to San Diego, they said they actually didn't start in San Diego. They said they started at the Big 5 sporting goods store in Santa Monica to try and buy handguns. That unfortunately, there was a 14-day waiting period, they said, so they couldn't buy the handguns at that Big 5 sporting goods store in Santa Monica. They both testified to this. Turns out, as the evidence came in at trial, the Big 5 sporting goods store in Santa Monica hadn't sold handguns for 3 years at that point. So it was impossible for them to have actually gone and tried to purchase a handgun instead of a shotgun that particular day. They've never admitted that they provided that fake ID and fictitious address to buy those shotguns in San Diego in order to conceal their connections to the shotguns and the ammunition. They just said that they used a fake ID because they had driven all the way down to San Diego and forgot their California driver's licenses. They testified that the day before the murders, they had stayed away from the home all day that Saturday, even though a witness came forward who was the pool repairman, who said they were playing tennis that day at the house and disrespecting the parents who were in front of them. Again, another lie which they have never acknowledged. They lied when they said they didn't plan that alibi before the murders. They lied when they said they did not ask Perry Berman to come back to their house in order to be a witness on the discovery of the mutilated bodies. They lied when they said that they did not stage the murders to look like a mafia gangland hit. They lied when Lyle said that he tried to suborn that perjury from Jamie Pisarcik about his father drugging and violently raping her. They've never admitted that they lied when they testified that their mother was so dangerous and unpredictable as she tried to poison the whole family. And they've never admitted the suborning of perjury from Tracy Baker when they actually got one of Lyle's girlfriends to testify to the fake mother's poisoning the family story at trial. They further lied when they testified that they thought their parents were going to kill them during their Saturday afternoon fishing trip. They lied when they testified that when they burst into the den with their shotguns, that it was too dark to see and their parents were standing up or moving towards them. Expert testimony showed that at all times the parents were seated on the couch when they were shot, or mom was on the ground bleeding to death when Lyle came back and shot her in the face. They lied when they said that they testified that the reason they rushed in on their parents was because of self-defense, and they thought that their parents were going to shoot them first that evening. And they lied when they testified that Dr. Oziel blackmailed them into confessing on tape to murdering their parents. We lay out this series of 16 of the 20 lies that they have never acknowledged, never showed insight into, never completely accepted responsibility for. By the way, what I just described to you was mentioned in a paragraph in the original motion that was filed by the district attorney's office. There was no discussion of exhibiting insight into one's actions or completely accepting responsibility for it in the original motion. So we are basically, in some ways, offering a path to the Menendez brothers. And here's what the pathway looks like. If the Menendez brothers at some point, unequivocally, sincerely, and fully accept complete responsibility for all their criminal actions, acknowledge that the self-defense defense was phony, and their parents weren't going to kill them the night of August 20th when they murdered them in cold blood. Acknowledge that they suborned or attempted to suborn perjury in all the various ways I have outlaid. If they go ahead and finally come clean with the court, with the public, with the DA's office, with their own family members, and acknowledge all these lies, and then can be said to have fully and completely accepted responsibility for their actions. In the future, the court can weigh these new insights into making a determination as to whether they now qualify for rehabilitation and resentencing. And the people will do the same. The district attorney's office, if it is presented with these new insights, unequivocal, sincere acknowledgments of all the lies they have told for the past over 30 years, we too, in the district attorney's office, will reconsider whether or not we would want to go forward with a resentencing motion. But for now, while the Menendez brothers persist in telling these lies for the last over 30 years about their self-defense defense, and persist in insisting that they did not suborn any perjury or attempt to suborn perjury, then they do not meet the standards for resentencing. They do not meet the standards for rehabilitation. They have not exhibited the full insights and accepted complete responsibility for their actions. And as a result, just like in the Sirhan case, they pose an unreasonable risk of danger to the community, and the resentencing should not, therefore, be granted.
I told you it was a really bad day for the Menendez brothers. Let me bring in our LA insider, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor in LA, host of the Courtroom Confidential podcast, Josh Ritter. Wow. Now, first of all, your reaction to what we just heard in the way he laid it out.
Yeah, my reaction is the same as yours. Wow. I mean, he really slammed the door shut. As far as I'm concerned, their chances have gone from very slim to near nothing after what Nathan Hochman had to say today. But what was interesting about it is he did it in a way that stuck to the facts and the law on the case, and he was really deliberate about that. He spoke for about 40 minutes, and you saw in that clip that we showed, nearly extemporaneously, not looking at notes. He knows the facts of this case. He knows exactly what he's doing on it. He has some really thought out reasons for exactly why he's opposing this resentencing. But it really comes down to, that he kept on repeating that phrase about having insight into and taking full responsibility for their actions. And because they have not done that, he doesn't feel that they're eligible for any kind of rehabilitation. And then he leaves them, the part that kind of surprised me was he leaves them with this challenge almost. Hey,
yeah, that's the road. That's the road where you have to admit it's all a load of you-know-what, right? Like everything you've been saying. That's what he's saying to them. He's challenging them. Like, you are murder defendants, Speak the truth. Speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and then we'll think about it. So let me ask you a couple procedural things and the way it works in L.A. He wants to withdraw that motion. Why can't he withdraw it? Why is this thing even going forward? Because isn't it initiated originally by the DA? Like, otherwise, every defendant in the world would go for a resentencing.
It was interesting because he touched on that but didn't fully explain it. Basically, what he's saying is that the court has made their own motion hearing and has put a motion hearing on the calendar, and they're going to respect that, and they're going to be at that, and they're going to argue their position. But as far as the moving papers, the motion to have them resentenced that was filed by George Gascon, he's asking to have that withdrawn and now substituted with this 87-page motion that reflects his new position that they should not be resentenced. So it was interesting to me because I agree with you. It's the DA's motion, but now they're saying, we're withdrawing that position, but we're still going to show up to the hearing on the 20th. We'll see what happens then.
Well, what do we know about the judge? Because most judges are looking to get things off their calendar, right? And if the moving party is saying, no, never mind, like usually the judge will say, fine, nobody show up, it's over. Like, why would the judge continue? Do you think the judge maybe wants to grant them parole or the opportunity for parole?
Not after this. I mean, it's difficult alone for a judge to overturn a jury verdict to begin with. There has to be some really compelling reasons for the judge to do that alone. And now with the DA in opposition to it, I don't think they have a chance at all. It was one thing when it was the defense, the victims' families, the DA's office, all in this united front to try to push for resentencing. But now with the prosecution putting up such a strong front against that, I don't think there's any way a judge will go along with it.
All right, Josh Ritter, our L.A. insider. We will speak again because this hearing is going to happen, and you'll see it on Court TV. Thanks so much, Josh. When we come back, we'll bring in our think tank, get their reaction to this, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, brand new video from the day Sheriff Mickey Steins shot and killed Judge Kevin Mullins in Kentucky. We'll take you inside the courthouse hallways, outside the courthouse, and inside the chambers as we look at what these videos reveal.
Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story.
Monica Cementelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cementelli.
The Celebrity Stylist Murder Trial, weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
So if the Menendezes go ahead and want to, at any point, whether it's today, whether it's weeks from now, months from now, or years from now, finally and unequivocally express that and acknowledge the lies that they have told and persisted in for over 30 years, then we will certainly evaluate the quality of that sincerity and decide whether or not it's real or fake. whether or not it's just designed to get out of jail, or whether or not they truly believe and acknowledge the full breadth of the crimes and lies they have told in deciding what to do at that point. And as importantly, the court will have to make that decision, and that decision is the court and the courts alone to make.
Fascinating from the LA DA, Nathan Hochman, saying, listen, Menendez brothers, just admit it wasn't self-defense, you weren't afraid, and this was cold-blooded murder. And then we'll start to consider this from our perspective. Let's bring in the think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. Also with us, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crosland and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Al, laying it out. Like, listen, just admit you are cold-blooded murderers. The defense was fake. It was a lie. You weren't afraid. I mean, pretty interesting the way all of this is now developed.
Well, it is, because if they do what he asks them to do, then there's no basis to let them out. Because they have no defense, they have no issue with regards to being sexually abused or anything along those lines. And under the circumstances, there is no legitimate reason to reassess their sentence. I mean, this is the right decision. The prior prosecutor was looking at it because it was basically the last act of a desperate man. He needed votes. He knew he was not doing very well in the polls. So what did he do? He took a moment with two brothers that were getting a lot of publicity, and he jumped on their train. And now the train's derailed, as well it should have been.
Darnell Crosland, your thoughts. Do you think there's any chance here that the Menendez brothers come clean?
I object 100% to that whole nonsense that we heard at that press conference. If you want to try the case, try the case. I just can't stand when people Monday morning quarterback. He stood there and made us listen to all of that malarkey. And now he wants to play God and say, and I quote, if they come forward with some sort of attrition or acceptance of responsibility, he will evaluate it and determine if they're telling the truth or not. And if they do, then maybe he'll tell Mr. Judge Man to help them out. I mean, come on. I mean, like Al said, they can't come now and say all that was a lie, because that's going to be used against them. The thing is, what have they been doing since the time over the 30 years? Any tickets in jail? Have they worked at the kitchen? Have they worked with any other programs? Have they got educated? I mean, that's all you got to focus on. Don't retry the case. The case is gone. So now just look at where they are. And that's what he should have been doing. So I don't buy that nonsense.
Jennifer Brandt, is part of rehabilitation and eliminating the risk to society being a person who can be completely honest about what happened?
No, I don't think so. But I think he had to find a reason why we're not talking about resentencing, why it's not really possible that they're going to get out. And why are we considering that they should get out anyway? I mean, there are a lot of people in jail who committed crimes who were found guilty by a jury, and we're not looking at everybody's case and figuring out, well, should they still be there, or was this the right decision? So I don't know why they're getting this special treatment. I agree with Al. I think there's been a lot of notoriety about this case. There's been television shows, documentaries, all kinds of things in news lately. And I think the former DA sort of jumped on that bandwagon and said, oh, yeah, let's let them out now. You got a new sheriff in town, or a new DA.
Well, the old DA was letting everybody out. He was letting everybody out, pretty much. That was his platform. That was his way of prosecuting. He was rethinking prosecution by not actually prosecuting criminals. Let's take a listen to the DA here, because there is one other way that the Menendez brothers can get out.
The second track that the Menendez case is on is the clemency track. This is a petition that the Menendez brothers filed directly with Governor Gavin Newsom. He could have acted on this petition either now, he could have acted on any moment since he has been in power since 2019. He can act on it today if he so chooses. He has unilateral constitutional power to commute the Menendez's sentences if he chooses and release them today. There is no hearing he needs to have, there's no deadline, and he can also do nothing.
So let's take a listen to Governor Gavin Newsom, who addressed this.
The question for the board is a rather simple one. Do Erik and Lyle Menendez, do they pose a current, what we call unreasonable risk to public safety? The risk assessment will be conducted as they typically are conducted by experts in public safety as well as forensic psychologists. We're going to make the findings, by the way, available to the judges presiding over the resentencing motion in LA Superior Court, as well, of course, to the district attorney himself. There's no guarantee of outcome here. My office conducts dozens and dozens of these clemency reviews on a consistent basis, but this process simply provides more transparency, which I think is important in this case, as well as provides us more due diligence before I make any determination for clemency.
Al, will he step forward?
Well, Vin, I never thought in a million years that the January 6th rioters who jumped and beat up and killed police officer would have
Well, they didn't actually kill a police officer, Al.
Well, the police officer died as a result of being involved in the incident.
Nobody murdered
Okay, but
anyone.
nonetheless, I never thought anyone who was found guilty in that would have been in any way pardoned, and they were. So you know what? All bets are off. I mean, who knows anymore? Let everybody out. It just doesn't seem to me that it means anything. These guys were sentenced to life without the chance of parole, and we're trying to get them out. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
How does this play politically, Darnell? Is this going to help Gavin or hurt him if he lets him out?
Well, I saw the sign said this is Gavin Newsom. Is that a podcast?
Yes.
If it is, if he lets him out, this podcast is going to go through the roof. The ratings are going to be great. So I think he should do it for the podcast, for the clicks.
For the clicks. Jennifer Brandt, are they a risk to public safety if they don't get adopted by someone else?
I don't think they're a risk to public safety, but I mean they did commit a very horrible crime, and without a doubt. And you know, it's just a question of whether we should be letting them out or thinking about letting them out just because everybody's, you know, watching their TV show. I don't think that's a great reason.
All right, we shall see. We shall see. It's going to be a fascinating hearing because the parole board's going to weigh in with their findings, and it'll be on the judge, as it should be. That's why they wear the robes, right? Al, Darnell, Jennifer staying with us. When we come back, the story everyone is talking about, this track meet in Virginia. Was there a track attack? What happened there? Now, I never ran track, I never ran relay, but it looked a lot like one runner hit the other one in the head and knocked her out. Let's take a look at it again. As they're coming around, she's passing her, and then what is that? Let's watch it slow down a little bit. There's a little bit of contact, it seems, right before, sort of. And wow. So what was that? Was that on purpose? Is that a crime? The think tank still with us. Al Wunsch III, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt. Darnell, what did you see there?
I was afraid of this. I wanted Al to give us one of his quips right about now. And Al, I must say, you know, you look really good today, no diddy. But looked like I did see her hit her with the baton, but maybe she got hit by the other girl's weave when they were coming around the bend by accident. And that was probably just like, what did you just do? And hit her back. But, you know, so it's like some girl stuff.
Al, what's going on here, Jennifer? Do you see what looks like purposeful track attack here?
Total track attack. Yeah, I mean, she whacks her pretty good with that baton. You could just see it.
Now
I didn't like the fact that she was passing her. You know, I think that was what was going on.
Heat of the moment. So
she did get hurt. She got hurt when she fell to the ground and perhaps on being struck by the baton. Al, what are you seeing here?
Then, since when did we do away with checking in indoor girls track? Okay, the checking should be allowed. It should be allowed, and I've never seen it not be allowed. And in this case, this is giving new meaning to the phrase "hit and run." Thank you.
That's actually good. But Alea Everett, the IC Norcom High School senior who appears to hit her opponent in the head with the baton on video, spoke out in an emotional interview with WAVY TV 10 where she claimed this was just an accident.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? After a couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit.
All right, we have some video. This is from a different angle. Does it give you a different take on what's happening here? This was obtained by WAVY TV and may show a better view of this from behind of what is happening here. There's a bump. You tell me. So if you believe this is on purpose, is this a crime? Should this be prosecuted if there are real injuries, which could be potential head injuries here? Darnell?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you intentionally strike another person, that is definitely a battery. So it's definitely a crime. Based on her explanation and based on what I'm seeing, it's kind of a hard determination for a jury to make. But it is a jury question, though. It's a factual question.
Jennifer Brandt, your thoughts. Should this be something that leaves the field of play and ends up in a court?
100%, Vinny, because you don't want athletes doing this. If this was intentional, if she did not just, get her arm caught or whatever she was explaining, but if she really went to hit her opponent, do we want that in our sports? So it's a crime like anything else. Like if she had hit her on the street or hit her anywhere else, I don't see what the difference is just because they're running a race. I don't see it at all.
Really,
and if this other woman is injured, then that's a problem.
Basketball players do it all the time, and so they get a technical foul or they lose a game. So
basketball's a contact sport, though. Basketball's a contact sport. Al, you played football, contact sport. What are your thoughts here?
It's heat of the moment. She got bumped by the girl that screwed up her momentum, screwed up her pace. You can see right there, and she reacted that way. It was heat of the moment.
On the head. I can't. No way. She hit her on the head.
Unfortunately, that's where it was.
Well,
right
she shouldn't
here.
hit her at all. You don't hit somebody with a baton on the head. That's pretty violent.
As the only athlete of this crew here, okay, it happens. You get upset as you get upset with regards to sometimes in a bad play and you do something foolish. And that girl is a young kid, made a mistake. No criminal charges should be filed. And you know what? She'll be penalized. She was penalized in the race. She'll probably be suspended from running. And we go from there. Okay, simple.
Darnell, are you going to show us your varsity letter?
Oh,
yes. I'm going to work on that.
I'm going to work on that.
Courage. That's fantastic. So does this go any further? What's your prediction here? Does it go any further, Darnell?
No, I agree with Al. Come on. They have internal disciplinary standards that they implement. So I think let them handle their discipline and let us keep the courts free for the Menendez brothers.
All right. I looked at it, the first time I looked at it, I thought it was crystal clear. The more I look at it, it's not as clear to me. There is a little bit of bumping, but it just looks like she winds it up a little bit too far in the back. But I don't run track, so I don't know. Jennifer Brandt, did you play any sports?
I did. I was a cheerleader.
You see what I mean, Al? Like Al presumes that no one is athletic here.
I apologize. I apologize because I was only an offensive lineman up against guys 350 pounds.
All right, so let me ask you, Al.
Getting into fist fights all the time.
Al, when do you cross over? When does it cross over from it's a competitive game, kids are going at it, to, hey, someone needs to be charged with something? What is the level of crossing the line that you need to intervene this system of justice into, you know, athletic competition?
It's very hard. You know, once again, you got to take a look at it from the intent standpoint, the heat of the moment. And that's what this is. It's a heat of the moment type situation. It wasn't intent. There was no intent to do anything. They're running. She bumps her. When you get bumped, when you're, now, not that I ever was a sprinter or in any type of indoor sport, like indoor running, but when you get bumped like that, look at it. She loses her stride, and that ruined her race, that she's doing the best she can, and she reacted that way because of that. I can't fault her for being upset on something along those lines. It's not criminal. Where do you go to the level on criminal? Well, I mean, if you take a hockey stick and you break somebody's head open, that might be something there.
We saw that case with a skate. Remember last year we saw the case with the skate with the hockey player. What are your thoughts, Darnell? Is there ever a time where you take it from the field of competition into a courtroom?
Yeah, definitely. If in fact I'll use basketball. If the ref called up audible or whatever, and everything is quiet, and you intentionally walk across the bench and you break somebody's jaw or something like that.
Kermit Washington, we remember that one. All right, Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt. I'll see you all on the basketball court this weekend. Thank you so much. Great to have you here. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, new video from the day Sheriff Mickey Steins shot and killed Judge Kevin Mullins in Kentucky. We'll track the movements of the sheriff and the judge before, during, and after the shooting. What do these videos reveal?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV. This week on Opening Statements.
From the retrial of Karen Reed to the doomsday cult mom, we're getting you all ready for the country's most anticipated trials.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. There she is, Lori Daybell, back in court tomorrow, representing herself. It's the case in Arizona. She's been charged with conspiracy relative to the murder of her husband, Charles Vallow. Meanwhile, Lori Daybell sat down for a one-on-one interview with Dateline's Keith Morrison. Here's a clip from that explosive interview.
Chad was convicted and he's on death row now.
I understand that, yeah.
But
they have some fascinating stories.
How could you possibly think that Chad would be exonerated after what happened?
The same way I will be exonerated. We will both be exonerated in the future.
Because?
I have seen things in the future that Jesus showed me when I was in heaven. And we were not in jail. And we were not in prison. And they were still in the future from now.
Fascinating. She's representing herself, ladies and gentlemen. It's a trial you'll see right here on Court TV. Right now, though, please take a look at your television screens because we have a missing child who needs your help. He's just 14 years old, Damon Maurice Jackson. Damon is from Tampa, Florida, has been missing since February 25th. Here's what you can do. Take a look at his photo. Then, if you see Damon, make a call, make a difference. You can call 911, you can call 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office down in Florida near Tampa. That phone number is on our screen. Let's see if we can get Damon to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. We've got new videos from the Kentucky Sheriff case. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.